From the outside, it probably looked like I was going to end up running a computer repair business. I loved building PCs. I did liquid cooling back when you had to Frankenstein it together with pond pumps, aquarium tubing, and even automotive parts. CPU Magazine was my Bible. I'd spend hours flipping through those glossy pages, studying the wild builds, dreaming about how I'd pull off the next big mod. That passion still shows today. My Linux workstation has custom neon lighting and appliques that harken back to those days. Horizon Blue. Technically, it's not neon, but there is a 10,000-volt transformer in there, but it's easier to just call it neon. And I didn't end up building gaming rigs for a living. And this is the story of why I walked away from what seemed like the obvious path, and why I don't regret it at all, and perhaps a cautionary tale for many others that are thinking of going down the same path. Before we go further, make sure to like, subscribe, and follow me on all my socials. Links are down below in the description. I want to hear your story too. I grew up around tech thanks to my dad. He got his start on punch card systems in college and even wrote Fortran code for the Hubble telescope when he was in the Air Force. He told me he helped get the shutters working, and of course, as a teenager, I used to tease him that he broke the Hubble whenever it made the news. That always got him ranting about the lens team and how that wasn't his fault. Typical teenage mischief. He was a great man back when we were on speaking terms. Unfortunately, mental illness eventually took over, and instead of getting him the care that he needed, the family just enabled him. I still love him and always will. And truly, honestly, if it weren't for my dad letting me tinker with all the tech and taking me on countless trips to Micro Center, I wouldn't be anywhere near as knowledgeable or as far in my career as I am today. That curiosity, that drive to open up things and see how they worked, that came from him and a lot of his encouragement. When I was around 9 or 10, a family friend handed me a glimpse into hacker culture. The first thing they did was sit me down to watch thebroken.org, Kevin Rose's pre-YouTube hacker show. That's where I first heard the name Kevin Mitnick, and it introduced me to early 2000s hacker culture. Afterwards, they said, now that you understand it a bit, let's go out and actually do it. So we piled into their car with a laptop running Canopix, an Orinoco wireless card, and went war driving. Back then, Wi-Fi security meant WEP. Many people were not changing their passwords, and we used AirSnort to crack it wide open in minutes. Compare that to today's WPA2 and now WPA3, and you realize just how insecure things were back then, which made it really wonderful for someone to start off learning security. That same friend also taught me how to flash our Linksys WRT54G with the DD-WRT, unlocking features most people never knew their router had, and also, at the same time, bypassing FCC limits that were imposed by the manufacturer. Between them and my dad, our house was wired with Cat5e cabling, turning it into a LAN-ready setup long before most families even thought about it. I even have this fuzzy memory of us cobbling together a Beowulf server cluster for distributed computing. One of my first boxes had a Cyrix CPU. Many of you probably haven't heard of that. Not fast, not flashy, but it was mine. My dad later had a system with Voodoo 2 and SLI, which at the time was just ridiculous power. Then came my own compact tower running Windows 2000. I remember the day I slotted an ATI Radeon 9600 Pro into that AGP slot long before PCI Express existed. That card let me play Tribes 2 with my cousin in Florida. And man, I poured countless hours into Tribes 2. If you've been around my channel and my streams, you already know how much I still talk about it. It's one of those games that just stays with you, and eventually I do want to seriously get around to making an Ultra XL server for my community. Our house was a LAN party hotspot. Friends would come over, we'd string cables everywhere, and game until the sun came up, sometimes days at a time. No, we didn't duct tape anyone to the ceiling, and yes, my mom made sure we all showered and ate actual meals. She kept us civilized, even when we thought we were hardcore. We had a shotgun modem, a single PCI card that let you bond 2 dial-up lines for double the speed. It was a big deal at the time. Later, we upgraded to DSL, a blazing 512 kilobits a second. I'll never forget yelling, "Mom, get off the phone, I need to use the internet," and my dad yelling back, "We've got DSL now. We don't need to do that crap anymore." My first laptop was an IBM X20, Pentium 3 at 733 MHz, 256 megabytes of RAM, and an 8 gigabyte hard drive, I believe running Windows 2000 if I recall. No built-in Wi-Fi or Ethernet, so I had to use a PCMCIA card to connect. My dad and I would drag Ethernet cables across rooms just to get online, dangling it from room to room because Wireless A was flaky, Wireless B was brand new but full of issues and bandwidth constraints. Eventually, we embraced Wi-Fi with, you guessed it, that same WRT54G. I had a little leather briefcase for that laptop and would take it to school. Yep.
Nerd alert!
I even unplugged the school computer during a class presentation and ran PowerPoint straight off my own laptop. That's how much pride I had in my gear. Back then, building PCs wasn't just buy parts, slap them together, boot from USB, done. No, you had to deal with IRQ and DMA conflicts, jumper settings, and install drivers in a specific order, often from a floppy disk, and your system just wouldn't work. And if you got stuck, there was no Discord, no Reddit. You went to in-person Linux user groups or computer clubs to get help. It was community, hands-on, and it forced you to really learn. I didn't just tinker. I started repairing PCs for others. I built my first pfSense firewall around 15 or more years ago using salvaged parts from customer upgrades and discarded machines. I even tinkered with it back when it used to be called MonoWall. I'd wipe the drives, throw in a new one, and Frankenstein together whatever I needed. That lab in a cramped one-bedroom apartment was the beginning of my journey into networking and later, cybersecurity. But over time, I saw the writing on the wall. People weren't calling the neighborhood PC guy anymore. They were going to Best Buy, Staples, or Micro Center. The local computer repair and custom PC building business was dying. Shops were closing. The ones that survived had to pivot to MSPs, managed service providers, and focus on business support because there was no real money in consumer repair anymore, unless you were pushing serious volume, like selling dozens of business desktops or managing servers. You weren't making a living, and even then, it wasn't the hardware keeping you afloat. It was the labor. My dad saw it before I did. He told me computers are a commodity now. You'll make more money solving business problems than fixing consumer ones. He was right. That advice helped me pivot before I wasted years chasing a dream that was already failing. You see, my father used to actually be in the business of building computers, bring them to clients. He would actually walk away with several $1,000s in profit by actually taking the computer with him on an airport flight to the destination, spend in the hotel for a couple days. But I can actually point to one moment that sealed the deal. In 2016, a family friend sent me to CES with a press badge to do research for them. That's where I met John McAfee. Yes, that John McAfee. He was at the EveryKey booth, pitching passwordless authentication before YubiKey, FIDO, or U2F were mainstream. We talked about cybersecurity, decentralization, and Monero. He even signed my Linux laptop. I'll bring it out here. An HP ProBook running Ubuntu. I covered the signature in clear tape to preserve it, and while that laptop doesn't boot anymore, one day I plan to frame it. It still does boot, but just needs a new disk. That moment marked the shift. I wasn't just a tinkerer anymore. I had a career path. I haven't been back to CES since. Not because I didn't want to. I just haven't had the time or money. One day, maybe I'll get sponsored or be big enough to justify expensing it. I'd love to cover CES as content, but if I had to choose between CES and DEF CON, DEF CON wins every time. Not because I dislike CES. It's amazing, but DEF CON is personal. It's where I connect with friends, it's fun, and it applies directly to the work I do today. So yeah, that's why I gave up on PC repair as a job. Not because I didn't love it, but because I outgrew it and the world moved on. From LAN parties and war driving with Canopix and AirSnort, to salvaged parts and pfSense, to John McAfee signing my laptop at the Consumer Electronics Show. This is the road I took to become who I am today. Drop your story in the comments. Like, subscribe, and follow. Discord, Matrix, Twitch, and Blue Sky, Mastodon, and more, all in the description below. And as always, happy hacking.